All right.
Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to go.
All righty. Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of the city's Development and Zoning Review Committee. The purpose of this meeting is to provide this party an opportunity to informally introduce the concept of a proposed development to certain key city decision makers and to allow them to ask questions and provide comments. No decisions or recommendations on the proposed development will be made by this committee. Any proposals for development you hear or see today are in a very early conceptual stage of planning without the city's departments of planning and public works having had the opportunity to review them. Accordingly, discussion of specific details of any proposed development at this time is premature, as they are subject to change prior to the formal submission process. In light of the informal and preliminary nature of the presentation today, the public has been invited to attend via the Zoom webinar platform or streaming live on YouTube and learn about concepts associated with this proposed development in your city, but public comment will not be offered at this time. Any person interested in commenting on the proposal discussed today is encouraged to contact their elected representatives and also take advantage of the numerous opportunities to speak before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council when, if such occurs, the development is formally submitted for the city's consideration. Roll call of committee members, please.
Mr. Chair, I'll be doing that tonight since Mr. Newberry is presenting.
Okay.
Mayor Boland.
Here.
Councilmember Brost.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Chair Beatty.
Here.
And Chair, I would note that since this particular site is located in Ward 1, the liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission is Mr. Brost, so that's why we only have 4 instead of 5. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. As everyone will remember, we've met with this group previously and had asked them to come back with us with some more detailed architectural diagrams, which they have done. So does the Department of Planning have any further comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just very briefly, first and foremost, thank you all for being here. It's always great to get these pulled together via Zoom so everybody can discuss the items. So just briefly, the department's going to summarize the items that were provided to you. It's an aerial images of the location of the site, which is on the southeast corner of Mueller Road and State Route 100. A revised conceptual sketch plan that was provided by the petitioner, a more detailed information about what the inside of the building, the use of the space of the inside of the building, and then as Mr. Chair mentioned, the architectural elevations associated with it. Just as a reminder, this is again a 7-acre site with zoned non-urban non-urban residence district located at the southeast corner of Mueller Road and State Route 100. The building proposed is around 23,000 square feet in size, and the proposed use is for a cultural center. And at the June meeting, you'll recall that the interested parties explained that there would be classes offered, some events, including some outdoor events. And the culture center in this zoning district would require a conditional use permit if they choose to proceed forward. And Mr. Chair, you summed up the rest of the department's presentation nicely with the previous meeting in June. And the department has each of the items that have been provided available for share screen whenever we get to that point. And I think that concludes the department's presentation, unless Joe has something or Melanie has something they want to add.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would ask Bhupathi or Kumar, if you all could raise your hand who wants to be promoted as part of the presentation, that would make it easy for me. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Go right ahead. All right, it looks like 2 of them would like to join us, so.
Mr. Chair, I've promoted the 2 that had the raised hand, so I believe they're ready to present.
All right.
Thanks, Travis, for adding me. Are you adding Kumar?
Kumar is here as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Which one of you would like to present?
I will do the presentation.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, video, I guess I can be on the video also.
Please.
Sendil, is somebody going to have the drawings on?
They'll be right up.
Yeah.
Okay. So Travis is going to do that? Okay.
Yep. We got shared with the Travis and it's published in city website. And Travis, you can present it. Otherwise, I can present it. Yep.
Okay, so this is the site layout. You got the Mueller Road and the 100 is on the right side of the property. And the building is going to be on the east end of our property. And the parking is going to be on the west side. And with some landscaping and all the engineering drawings and stuff like that, we'll be doing that later when we get to that point. So this is just a conceptual design showing the layout of the building. And we got the next diagram shows the architectural floor plan and elevations also. So the center portion is going to be the cultural center, like an auditorium. And the side, the pink ones are all the classrooms. It's a weekend classroom. It's not a school per se. It is to teach our kids our language and our cultural information for them to learn. So usually it's on weekends. And we can use for other small meetings and stuff like that if we want to have the Tamil community. So that's the layout. And then if you go to the next drawing, that will show the elevation, side elevation, and the front elevation. The west elevation is the front of the building, with the cultural center being the middle portion, which is taller. A higher ceiling, and then the classrooms will be on the smaller one with 14-foot tall building. And the center one is like 24 feet tall. So again, we got windows on the upper elevation for the cultural center. So you'll have some daylight coming into the cultural center as well. So pretty much that's it is again a conceptual thing. It could change when it comes down to the nitty-gritty. If anybody has any question, unfortunately today the architect could not be here. He's traveling overseas, and that's the reason he's not here.
All right. Thank you. Mayor Boland.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just have one question, and I don't think it would be controlling for me in reaching a decision on this. I just am curious, which side of the last elevation would be facing Highway 100? Would it be the front of the building or a side of the building?
It's the side of the building.
Okay, thank you. So the front will be facing west, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Councilmember Clark.
Thank you, Chair Beatty. Yeah, I had two questions. One is there any issue with there's so much impervious surface with the parking lot and the building there. Is that something we should be concerned with? And that's addressed to Mr. Venich, I guess. And also on the other side of the 100, the church and school has quite a large berm. Is there any way we could do that on both sides to mimic the berm on the, I guess that's the north side?
It would be the north side of the lot, the south side of 100.
Ms. Clark, I would respond to the question regarding parking by saying that 209 spaces for a 23,000 square foot building does seem in excess of what the zoning ordinance would require. And certainly we'll look at that very closely if the group should proceed forward and submit an application for a conditional use permit. Again, if the group were to proceed with the process and seek a conditional use permit, and ultimately the Planning and Zoning Commission would grant it, we can add requirements relative to the berm, landscaping, et cetera, along that north elevation.
All right, Councilmember Brost.
Yes, I guess an additional question, but with respect to, the parking spaces, I assume are needed because they will on certain days be full. What about, we've had a lot of, over the years, discussion on the safety of Highway 100. So how would we address this additional traffic? And should it potentially factor into our planned improvements on 100? I guess, I don't know if that's Rick Brown or Joe Vunich or both. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Bross, I'm gonna let Mr. Brown tackle that because we did have a discussion about a right turn lane or left turn lane into Fellowship of Wildwood. So at our city council meeting on Monday. So I'm gonna let Rick handle.
Yeah, I think the short answer is we could certainly require a traffic study to be completed that would evaluate the traffic impacts and if improvements need to be made.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that'd be a lot of flow there, and we're trying to make a significant, progress in the safety along 100, and it's just, we need to make sure that we don't go backwards on that. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Boland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, on a macro level, I think that this design, based on the elevations and its location, is consistent with what we have seen at other locations west of 109, starting with the community college and on the eastern side of that perimeter or boundary, and ending with the Fox Creek Veterinary Clinic out on the western side of the city at Fox Creek Road and Highway 100. So I mean, conceptually, I think it's a nice looking building, and just from my standpoint, if the traffic issues and parking issues and the berm and some of these other things can be made as conditions, which inevitably they may. I think just as a general proposition, I don't see anything about what you're wanting to do that, from my perspective, would be inconsistent with what we already have in a few areas of that part of our city.
I agree with that statement. Anyone else have any comments? Councilmember Brost.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that as well. And I'm assuming as we get into the process, the items we discussed and lighting and all that will just fall into the normal process that we as a city follow. But no, I was sort of pleased to see that we don't have some 12-story building proposed. And I think actually being tiered like that, it also softens the effect of just not having a 2-story building sitting there. So I think it'll be a nice addition.
All right, Councilmember Clark.
I agree with that. If we go ahead and if there was a berm there, that berm covers most of what you would see anyway. So I think it looks fine, whether we did the berm or not, but I think to be consistent on both sides of the road, it would be just mimicking the road as you drive down through there. But I see nothing glaring about this project at all. And I think that the traffic, even if it's just weekends, I think the traffic study is a good idea, but I don't see that we're going to have a large additional traffic issue in that area.
I agree with that, Councilmember Clark. If the primary use will be on weekends, the traffic on 100 is generally lighter on Saturday and Sunday out there. So, Mayor Bolin?
Well, two things. One, relative to the traffic issue, our department team is well schooled and experienced in that aspect of these developments. And so I would just really suggest, we defer to them once they get a definitive number of likely participants, parking places, and all the data that go into that analysis to determine whether the traffic study would be needed, and we rely on that decision. Second, relative to the berm, and again, we're peeling the onion way in advance of what is probably necessary, and what I'm getting ready to say. But from an aesthetic standpoint, I think that the building looks very nice, and again, consistent with what I think already have in that part of our city. And I wouldn't want to see an artificial berm come across to the onlookers or the passerbys, as we're trying to hide this kind of thing, because I don't see any need to hide it. I think it's nice looking, but if it can be accomplished for the reasons Councilmember Clark mentioned, fair enough. But sometimes these artificial creations can end up, kind of coming back to haunt you if they don't look like they're consistent with the topography that was sort of there and is currently there once you're done. But I'm not an expert on those things, and I'm just, this is way down the road. But I think from what I'm hearing from everyone here, you would have the support going forward. And I just want to thank you for your interest as well in our city.
All right, and I'll just make one last comment on the berm. I've got Google Earth up on my other screen here, and I'm kind of looking at the street view. I think, to some extent, I think the church sits a little bit above 100, whereas this lot is pretty much flat and sloping away from 100. But I just wanted to make that comment. So I think some of that could be a little bit just because of the topography of that area as it stands. It's hard to tell for sure because you never know how accurate the elevation data in Google is, coming from someone who looks at this stuff every day. But that's all I had. And Councilman Brost?
Yeah, I guess just one other question. How does the proposed use compare with the current zoning? I guess that'd be for Mr. Vunich.
Mr. Brost, the non-urban resident district is the underlying designation. And so it does accommodate certain types of schools, recreational uses, as well as religious affiliated things. So in this case, a conditional use permit will be required, but it can be done in the underlying district.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So as the mayor said, I think from this committee, it's you have our blessing to pursue this. And with that, I think I can take a motion to adjourn if no one has any other comments.
Well, 1 second, Mr. Chair, we have
Sure.
another item on the agenda tonight.
Oh, okay.
And to the representatives of the Cultural Center, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks to all committee members and city administration. City of Wildwood is welcoming, and we are glad to be in there. Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, buddy.
Sorry, I didn't scroll far enough down on the agenda. Let's see. Give me 1 second here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So the consideration of the change regarding the number of meetings allowed per submittal. Mr. Vernich or Mr. Newberry?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to handle this one for. Mr.
Okay.
Newberry. But as you know, over the course of the last few meetings, we've had comments or questions that couldn't be answered within the confines of a single meeting date. So at the conclusion of the last meeting, the mayor asked that this be placed on the agenda to consider amending the bylaws to accommodate maybe more than one meeting, 2 meetings, I'm not sure. So that's why we are here today, to seek your input and direction.
Okay. Yeah, I like Mayor Bolin.
Yeah, so I don't recall when this committee was formed, the rationale for having only one meeting, but there have been a couple of instances where it has, well, before I get to that, I suspect that maybe one of the reasons is that the city attorney, when he prepared the legislation, didn't want this committee to essentially become, a de facto sort of planning and zoning where we just go, we drone on and on about, some project. And ultimately kind of usurp authority. So, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that's, and I'm just making that assumption, but if that's the case, that would be a legitimate reason. So I guess what I would say, or was getting ready to say earlier, is that there have been a couple of meetings, not many, where it was, I felt, and this being one of them, where it was really necessary, because maybe we didn't have a representative or, what have you, that we needed to have a second meeting. So I think I would make a motion that we ask the city attorney to consider proposing changes to the bylaws that are applicable to this group that would essentially provide, and I'm going to use these words for a reason, for good cause shown, the committee may have up to 2 meetings. I think 2 meetings would accommodate what's needed, and it would foreclose the concern that I suspect may have been in his mind when he developed the 1 meeting approach. So that would be my motion, that we ask the city attorney to develop language that would essentially say, for good cause shown, the committee could by majority vote decide to have a second meeting. Thank you.
All right. Is there a seconded by Councilmember Clark? Any discussion? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I've recorded the motion as approved by a vote of 4-0, and we'll get the information on over to City Attorney Young and have it done, and we'll send it out to you once the city attorney has a draft so you can see what he's thinking. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, now I guess I'll look for the motion to adjourn. All right, motion by Mayor Bolin, seconded by Councilmember Clark.
No, I didn't make the motion.
Oh, sorry. I saw your lips moving. I thought maybe the mic just didn't pick up. All right, my bad. Councilmember Clark did.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Brost. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.